Good afternoon. Welcome in to another edition of the Yuengling Postgame live show here on the PowerMizzou.com podcast on your YouTube channel live for now and in various places as soon as we get finished here. I am Gabe DeArmond after a 45-3 Missouri win over the Massachusetts Minutemen in a weird game that seemed really weird when it was scheduled, a little weirder when it started and finally settled in the second half. Want to say welcome to everybody joining us live here. Hope to pick up more of you as we get rolling on this show. Like, comment, subscribe. We're going to get to your comments throughout the show. We're going to talk with you. We're going to take your voicemails. I'll put that link up in just a minute. And we'll have a podcast afterwards that everybody can download and listen to and share. Before we get to that, want to, as always, thank our sponsors, Yuengling Lager, actually just Yuengling in general, America's oldest brewery. However, most known probably for the original lager. We encourage you to crack one open, or if it is some other brand of Yuengling that you like, some other version, crack that open. Hang out with us here for a little while. We're going to talk about this one. Again, Missouri 5-1 on the season, 45-3 winners in Amherst, Massachusetts. I'm Gabe DeArmond. Gerard Hamilton going to be along in a little bit. He is at the postgame press conference right now with Eli Drinkwitz in Amherst. I'm in Columbia, Missouri at the home office, and we are going to get going. As always, Freeway Jared, appreciate the shout out to Super Chat. We always appreciate it. Never ask for it. If you want to do it, it's a good way to make sure your question, your comment, whatever gets on the show. We always want to take care of those people who take care of us, Yuengling and the Super Chatters, our favorite people, but we love having everyone else here as well. So let's get into this one. And I'm going to give my initial impressions. I have read no comments here. I've read a few on Twitter. I've read a few on our message board. I think there were a lot of people that woke up today and they were going to be mad almost no matter what happened in this game. And I'll explain that. Jovan says we got to be better in the trenches. I don't disagree. Like we said coming into this game, there was really nothing Missouri was going to be able to do to just tell you everything was fine. I mean, beating this team 92-4 wouldn't have changed that, right? There was nothing they could do today. And there were some bumps. Like the first half wasn't perfect. It was 24-3 at halftime, but it was a Corey Flagg interception away from being maybe 21-10 and UMass getting the ball to start the second half. So I understand why people are a little upset there. I would say two things. Number one, the games last 60 minutes, and they all 60 count, guys, from whether you get up by 30 and hang on or whether you get down by 30 and come back. The simple fact of the matter is all 60 minutes count. Missouri won this game by 42 points, outgained Massachusetts by 224 yards, almost 2-1, 461 to 237. Didn't have a turnover, only had 4 penalties, averaged 7.4 yards a play to 4.2 for UMass. I mean, had 3 sacks, gave up 1, had 6 tackles for loss, gave up 4. There are things you can nitpick. We're going to nitpick them. I understand why. Again, I'm not telling everybody that everything is fine. At the same token, I think this is a leftover of last week. Like people are so upset and so disgusted by last week that no matter what happened today, it was just going to be confirmation bias of, yeah, this team sucks. They're 5-1. It's not a perfect 5-1. It's not a pretty 5-1, maybe, but it's fine. Today was fine. I'm not saying this season is fine. I'm not saying this team is everything you wanted. We'll see. But today was fine. I mean, they were, you can say, yeah, but what if Corey Flagg doesn't get the interception and they score? But he did and they didn't. They won the game 45-3. Would 65-3 have made you feel better? Maybe, but I don't know that is necessarily true. So what I want to do before Gerard gets on here, I want to run through some of the comments here in the chat. Then we're going to go to some of the voicemails. And I do need to put up, if you guys want to leave us a voicemail, there it is, speakpipe.com/PowerMizzou. Just go to that link on your phone, your tablet, whatever. All you got to do is click it. start recording. You can say what you want to say. The fun part about the voicemails for me today is going to be guessing when in the game they were left, right? Like, was this halftime? Was this third quarter? Was this last couple minutes? We'll see. So I think that's going to be enjoyable, but you can do that at speakpipe.com/powermizzou. So I want to get to some of the comments. Hang on. Gerard Hamilton just texted me from Eli Drinkwitz's post-game show. Asked about Luther Burden and whether he could give an update. Quote, I can't. Availability report will come out Wednesday, but I honestly can't give you an update. I don't know. That's on Luther Burden and Khalil Jacobs. Now, Eli said on the field after the third quarter that he was going to be fine. To our knowledge, Luther did not go to the locker room. I don't know. I mean, it sounded like after the third quarter, he said he was going to be fine. And then that sounds a lot more ambiguous to me. Now, does that mean he's not fine? Does that just mean Eli doesn't want to say anything and they haven't done an x-ray or whatever yet? I don't know what it means. But again, let me read that to you real quick because I think this is the main story. Availability report will come out Wednesday, but I honestly can't give you an update. I don't know on what happened with Khalil Jacobs and Luther Burden. Khalil Jacobs went to the locker room, got checked out for a right shoulder injury. To my knowledge, Luther Burden never did. Gerard texted me from the game, said he's on the sideline getting his tape cut off. Went in the injury tent, came out. To our knowledge, did not go to the locker room. So all of that seems like good news, but until at least Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't know for sure that we're going to say it's good news. So let me run through some of these comments while we got time. A win's a win. Can't say this team plays inspiring football. Imagine it's hard to get up in that atmosphere. I've heard louder cheers at a funeral. Scott, I agree with all that. Like, was it beautiful? No. Was it really pretty boring for the first two quarters? Yes. But it was 45-3. I mean, again, I just don't know what you could have seen today that would have had you saying everything's good. I don't think anything could have told you that. Javon says O-line, D-line, and Brady Cook need to be better. Brady got going in the second half a little bit. His final line, hang on, I've got it around here somewhere. But Brady did get going in the second half. 14 of 19, 219, 3 touchdowns. Didn't have a turnover, and he didn't play the fourth quarter. I think the worst thing you can say about Brady Cook today might be that, like, he put his best wide receiver at risk with a bad throw. Because it wasn't an awful throw, but it was high to Luther Burden. And Luther goes up like this, kind of exposes the rib cage, the collarbone, whatever, and takes a big hit. Now, even if he catches that ball, he's probably taking the big hit, right? Even if it's lower, maybe he takes the big hit. But I think I think that's the worst throw he made today because of the result of it. But look, he finally hit Brett Norfleet on like a 45-yard gain down the middle, and then he hit Norfleet for a touchdown on the next play. He had Josh Manning make a play for him and go 63 yards on a little short pass. I think this is the best example of confirmation bias. And I understand you guys all think I'm like Brady Cook's father or agent or something. So anything I say is going to ring hollow. Again, none of this is saying Brady Cook is the best quarterback in the country or the SEC or any of that. He was fine today. Like, if you watched that game and you said Brady Cook sucks and has to be benched, it's because that's what you thought before the game, and that's what you want to think, and that's what you're always going to think no matter what. Like, it's just not going to change. He was fine. Is he an NFL elite college superstar quarterback? No, he never has been. He's never going to be. And I understand that quarterbacks always get too much credit and too much blame, but this has gotten, like, I'm not even going to say borderline ridiculous. This has gotten ridiculous this week. He was 14 of 19 for 219. Like, he made a bad throw that might have gotten Luther Burden hurt. I will give you that. If that is to you justification for he's awful and should be benched and not be allowed back in Columbia, Missouri, whatever, it just is. But, like, I don't know. He was fine. He wasn't phenomenal. but he wasn't awful. And if you watched that game and your main takeaway is how awful he is, you went into the game trying to see that. And that's fine. I know some people did. I'm not going to change your mind. So I'm going to just kind of move on from that and see if we have any other finishes or any other takes. Javon, good to see the backups get some meaningful time. Yeah. I mean, they ran the offense. They ran the defense. Williams Winery had a sack. Daniel Blood got some run. Josh Manning made a nice play. Ja'Kai Lang was in there a lot. Nick Rodriguez played in the first half of that game because Tristan Newsom didn't play and Khalil Jacobs got hurt. So I think that was all, those were all positives. This kind of sums it up. Kyler, this is the worst I've felt after a 45-3 win. This is from last week, guys. Like, it just is. We knew last week was going to take 2 weeks to get erased. And I said coming in, I refuse to say anything is fixed after the UMass game. And I'm not saying that. But I also refuse to say anything is more broken than it was a week ago. Like, it's all confirmation biased. It's all last week sucks, and I'm still mad about it, and we can't prove anything against UMass, so this week sucks too. It's all going to suck until they play Auburn. That's probably the best we can sum it up. First half was quite concerning. Yeah, first half, not great. You'd have liked to see more. The most disappointing part to me in the first half was that they came out and they ran the ball on 18 of their first 24 plays. And look, it worked. I mean, so I guess that's the point. But I wanted to see a coaching staff that I felt like believed in the passing game a little bit more. Like, I knew you could line up and run over UMass. I would have liked to see the passing game when the game was in doubt be a little more active. I understand the game plan. The job is to win games. It's not really a criticism. It's just, I think this is a game where you can work on some of your weaknesses. And I think they did that in the second half. But not really maybe when the game was in doubt. Britt says everyone finally got to see our savior Drew Pine throw a couple in the dirt. That's the thing, guys. Drew Pine was 3 of 5 for 11 yards. Like, I saw someone post on Twitter. I understand the concern that the quarterback play is not good enough. And I share that concern. I do not understand the idea that Drew Pine is this savior waiting on the bench and is so much better. It's simple, like, it's just blind hope. It's anybody but this guy. And that can't be the answer. Okay, if not him, then who? That's what you have to answer. If not Brady Cook, then who? Drew Pine, that's solving everything. Guys, this just is, it's a conversation that's neither side is ever going to agree, and it's not really going to be reasonable, I don't think. And this isn't an insult to Drew Pine, but there's literally nothing to prove in his entire college career that he's a better quarterback than Brady Cook. There just isn't. Okay, Agile Eel says, last week sucked, but I feel like 9 or 10 wins would still be a season to be proud of. Let me run over some things that happened across the country, guys. This is just in the early window. Buffalo, which Missouri beat 38-0, and which, by the way, also beat UMass, beat Toledo. It was 30-15 last I saw. I'm going to check a final on that for you, or if somebody wants to give it to me in the chat. I don't know what the final was. Buffalo 30, Toledo 15. Buffalo's now 4-2, 2-0 in the MAC. That win looks a little bit better. Alabama nearly lost to South Carolina, like was literally one play. It was 27-25. South Carolina missed a 2-point conversion, got an onside kick, and couldn't get into field goal range. Every game on Missouri's schedule is winnable. Every game. They can win every single game they play. Now, they can also lose all but one. They'll beat Mississippi State. Other than that, they can lose everyone. So the floor is 6-6. The ceiling is 11-1. They will almost certainly be somewhere in between there. I don't know exactly where, but my guess is somewhere between 6-6 and 11-1. And we're going to know a lot more about which one we think it is after next Saturday against Auburn. That determines a whole lot. Henry, room to nitpick, but just another game overall that won't change a lot in terms of confirmation bias for people. Perfectly said. Like, it's exactly what I said. That's why Henry's doing some interning for us. And Henry, appreciate you hanging out, man. And please don't need to don't feel the need to super chat, we pay you. You don't have to pay us, but appreciate you being here and hanging out with us, man. Everybody follow Henry's work during the season. He's going to be covering a lot of Olympic sports, some men's basketball, doing some stuff for us during the week. But no, I totally agree. What you thought coming into this game is largely what you think coming out of this game. And most people coming into this game felt very down. And that's a big part of it. Signal intrusion, more flag on the play, less flag on the play. If you're listening on the podcast, that first flag is FLAGG. Second one is FLAG. Good call. I like the pun. We might have to work that in. Look, I think Corey Flagg's play was huge. Because if you don't make that interception and UMass does manage to get a few more yards and make it 21-10, and they're getting the ball out of the locker room, oh boy, then you feel real nervous. It never got to that point. So like we're playing a game of how bad could it have been, which I don't know that there's much point, but I like that. Yeah, Nate Noel, back tightness. Want to address that. Want to address what happened, guys. And this isn't making excuses. This is just telling you guys how it is, right? I mean, usually injury news breaks from Pete Thamel on Twitter on Friday night. Didn't break that way this time. So nobody knew that Nate Noel wasn't going to play. Like Gerard Hamilton was at the game and saw Nate going through pregame warmups. Everything looked fine. So it is very possible that was a pregame or a game time decision where it's a go through warmup, see how you feel. Didn't feel great. Okay, we're pulling him. Well, all through the first half, just nobody knows. Nobody has said anything. They're asking in the press box, what's going on with Nate Noel? Don't know. At halftime, okay, Nate's out for the game. Why? We can't tell you. Then Eli Drinkwitz tells the sideline reporter that he has back tightness. I don't know. That's whatever. He had back tightness. I assume he'll be back next week. Joe Moore didn't play. Tristan Newsom didn't play. Khalil Jacobs again left hurt, and Luther Burden, just for those who are joining late, because we're up over a couple hundred now. Eli Drinkwitz on Luther Burden. The availability report will come out Wednesday. I honestly can't give you an update. I don't know when asked what happened with Jacobs and Burden. So we don't know. I mean, he didn't go to the locker room. He stayed on the sideline. Those seem like positive things. Drinkwitz told the sideline reporter he's going to be fine, but he stopped short of that after the game. So we'll see. Guys, keep throwing your comments in the chat. We'll come back certainly to some of them. But Sham, if you're here and not in the middle of voicemail upload, hit me with the first voicemail. Okay, Sean might still be uploading voicemails. So, Sean, send me a message when you're done uploading, and we can get to those. I will go with some of the comments in the chat. Britt says, "I'm tired of Fine, tired of serviceable and game manager." I get it, Britt, but like, what's the alternative? Jaden Daniels isn't on this team.
Gabe, AJ here. Hey, about 8 minutes left in the fourth. Brady with an over 200 passer rating. Thought he had a pretty good day overall.
Okay, yeah, AJ, I don't know if you cut off there, but he was fine. Again, fine. Sean, let's keep going, man. Just hit me with another one.
Couple things, Gabe. What are the chances that Luther Burden still gets hurt if he catches that ball that hits him in the hands? Secondly, how happy would it make you to see Eli Drinkwitz get fired? Thanks.
To the first
Couple
question,
things, Gabe.
to the
what
first
are the
question,
chances that Luther Burden still gets
all right, yeah,
hurt if he catches that ball that hits
Sean,
him in
we
the
need to cut
hands?
that.
Secondly, how happy would it make you to see Eli Drinkwitz get fired? Thanks.
Okay, honestly, I didn't think it was worth
Couple
playing
things,
twice.
Gabe.
Sean,
What
we
are
got
the
to cut the
chances
voicemail, man.
that Luther Burden still gets hurt if he catches that ball that hits him in the hands? Secondly, how happy would it make you to see?
Gabe, I think that pass to Burden where he just egregiously missed high and almost got him killed is going to be the final straw for a lot of Mizzou fans. Love Brady on a personal level. I just I mean, I read a stat that says he has 1 touchdown all year on a ball that was thrown past the line of scrimmage. I almost can't believe that. I mean, the accuracy has been so bad, and I keep hearing from so many people that basically, something really, really bad would have to happen for them to replace him with Pine or anybody else. And I think that we saw that today. I just think it's time.
Okay, so let me address all those things. First of all, yeah, Luther still might have gotten hurt if he catches that pass. I don't think he got hurt because he dropped it. Like, the pass was high. There's no question. The Drinkwitz getting fired thing, I don't know. I guess I thought that was funny. Yeah, that's what I want to spend my off season doing, is covering a coaching search, guys. Trust me. And on the Brady thing, like I said, that was the worst thing to happen today, and I think fans will use that against him. But again, this is what you thought about him coming in. It's not because of today. This is where your wife is mad at you for 14 things you haven't done all weekend, and then you got the wrong kind of ketchup, and that's the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Like, it's not that you got the wrong kind of ketchup. It's that she was mad about the 14 things you told her you were going to do that you didn't do. That's what's going on here. There's a lot of anger that Brady has not played as well as people want him to play, or frankly, as well as he played last year, or frankly, as well as he needs to play. That is all just today. Well, I saw one thing I didn't like, and so here's all the old fights. Here's all the old stuff we're going to bring up, right? Instead of just dealing with the one today, I'm mad about these 199 other throws I've seen you make or not make or whatever, and we're going to talk about those now. That's all this is, guys, and that's okay. Like, I get it. Again, I'm not changing anybody's mind, but that's clearly what's going on. I want to put this up from the chat because this is an interesting point from Sam Thomas, and when Gerard gets on here, I want to talk to him about this too. The offense isn't better without Burden, but it does make us a little scarier to defend because you don't know who to really key in on. So I got a text from a friend of mine who played football at Missouri at one point. And he texted me, I want to say this was mid-third quarter. And he said, it's UMass, but hear me out. Does Burden clog up the offense? Several of us are watching and wondering if that can be a little bit of a problem that the offense is having. Forcing it to him, Burden is mad on the sideline when it doesn't go correctly, but then you spread the ball around when he's not in there. And I don't think anybody's saying that, like Sam says, Missouri's offense isn't better without Luther Burden. He is their best player. But is there maybe a little bit of, we know we've got to get him the ball, not only because he's the best player, but look, got to keep him happy, do all these things. And do they maybe get bogged down a little bit trying to force the ball to Luther rather than, hey, just run the play and throw to the open guy? I don't know. And I want to be clear. I'm putting this chat up. I'm asking the question because I'm legitimately asking. I'm not ready to say yes, but I'm also can't for sure say no. And again, have to be clear. Luther Burden is your best player. You're a better team with him on the field. You need him on the field. But is there something there that is kind of jamming up the rest of the offense a little bit? I mean, Luther was pretty much the entire offense of the first half. He had I think it was 127 yards. I've got a stat. Yeah. 127 yards from scrimmage, including a 61-yard touchdown run on the second play of the game. It was a fantastic run. Made a couple of just video game moves. The kid is an excellent football player. And Missouri's offense was a little bit just smoother in the second half. I don't know. It's an interesting concept that we're never really going to know the answer to because, look, you don't want to have to operate without Luther Burden. You want him in the game. He's a very good football player. But I find it interesting that a couple of different people have brought that up now. I don't really know. All right, Sean, let's go to another voicemail, man.
Well, it's halftime. Mizzou is up by 21, and it doesn't feel that way. The offense is slow. The defense is slow. The scheme doesn't make sense on defense. There's guys running wide open down the middle of the field. And honestly, against a real team, it would look like A&M again. I think realistically, you have to look at 7 or 8 wins because that's what this team has shown.
It's possible. So I would have guessed that voicemail was left at halftime initially. And fair for the take at the time. He did touch on something that I will say was probably my biggest concern coming out of the game is pass defense. Because the complaint last week was Missouri doesn't blitz. Like, why aren't they bringing any pressure? Well, Corey Batoon brought some pressure this week. He brought some blitzes. They didn't really get home. And what that leaves is a secondary that I have some questions about. It looked like mostly they were in zone defense. And I think the reason is simple. I don't think Corey Batoon thinks he has the guys back there to go one-on-one. Like, the biggest thing they're missing from last year is Ennis Rakestraw and Chris Abrams-Drain. Because what those two guys allowed Blake Baker to do was, yeah, we got the receivers. Put us one-on-one, we're good. You can double team somebody else. You can blitz if you need to. We got these guys one. I'm not saying every snap. And I'm obviously, like, sometimes against LSU, it didn't work great. But for the most part, you could put those guys in man coverage and feel pretty good that you were going to hold your own. I don't think they have the cornerbacks to do that this year. So they're playing more zone, which means more open spaces. And, like, look, you can never hear somebody talk about zone defense without talking about the soft spot in the zone defense, right? There are soft spots. When you cover a zone, you're not going to cover everything. When you're not getting to the quarterback, the receivers are going to have more time to find those soft spots, and the quarterback's going to have more time to find them. Long story short, if I have a concern out of this game, it's the pass defense, because I don't think they do a lot to disrupt opposing quarterbacks, and I don't think they have great cover guys. And against UMass, that doesn't matter. We saw it matters against Texas A&M. It's going to matter against, South Carolina, Oklahoma. Well, maybe not Oklahoma. Every receiver on their roster is hurt. But Alabama, Auburn, probably. Like, Peyton Thorne's an experienced quarterback, right? He's not great. Sometimes he throws the ball to the other team, but he might make some plays too. So if I have a concern coming out of this one, it's that. Dennis says, did you honestly see anything today that tells you this team has improved and fixed the deficiencies we've seen up to this point? No, but I couldn't see that. Like, I went into this game telling you there's no way I'm coming out of this game telling you things are fixed. I don't know. But I also didn't see anything that tells me things are more broken than they were coming into this game. It's just, this game was never going to prove anything to me one way or the other. I understand it's 1 of 12 and we want to draw, like, we don't get that many of them. So we want to draw a lot of conclusions, but I just can't draw many conclusions off this. I don't know. Sean, let's go back to the voicemail line.
Man, this board is tough to read. This is probably some of the worst takes I've seen on the site. Y'all need to just chill out, man. They're playing fine. They're non-starters in the game. I don't really know what else to say. There's not much that you can grasp from this game. It's just not going to tell you anything. So just chill and enjoy the win.
Excuse me, sir. This is the internet. We do not do calm and measured here. We need something fiery. Sean, what's the next call?
Hey, Gabe, Derek here. Just wanted to say this team is nowhere near what we thought they could be going into the year. We needed Brady to replicate what he did last year or even take a step forward, and he hasn't even been half of the quarterback that he was last year. He can't push the ball down the field, and he's not even accurate in the middle part of the field throws, which is pretty disappointing with the expectations we had going into the year.
Fair. We are 6 games into the season, and the only games where you would say Missouri played well, like, have a lot to do with the competition, right? Did they play well against Murray State? Is Murray State awful? I don't know. Buffalo actually is starting to look like a little bit more impressive than we thought. That 38-0 win looks better than I thought it did at the time. And today against UMass, again, I don't know what that means. So we've only had 3 real opportunities to see them. BC, not awful, but not great. Vandy, little worse maybe, but good enough. And then A&M, quite clearly awful, So yeah, today, again, just I don't know, but right now, yes, they have presented us a half a season of evidence, and it is not the evidence of a playoff team. Like, that's still on the table. It's not out of the question, but it's a long way away. All right, let's go to the next one.
Gabe, this is Schiff. My quest to get a voicemail on the postgame show is turning into Matt Damon's quest to get on Jimmy Kimmel. I've come the past few weeks with extended thoughts and analysis and jokes to make this reality, and nothing has worked, so I'm just going to be quite frank. I did not watch a minute of the game today. I've gotten some notifications on my phone. It looks like the blowout it should have been. And not to say anything's fixed by any stretch. The second half of the season starts next week, and that'll ultimately be what determines what to make of this season. But I just want to remind everybody that Nick Juice and Jim Sturk are the people who are the reason that this game occurred today, and I am still kind of stunned that it ended up happening. But yeah, I thought about going up last week. I thought about driving up this weekend, but after going to Kyle Field last weekend, watching the game end in 10 minutes, I didn't think the juice was worth the squeeze. So let's go Mets. Hope you're well. Hopefully this is a lucky voicemail. And again, didn't watch a minute of the game.
All right, Schiff, you got on the show, man. Congratulations. Thanks for checking in. I don't need to add anything to that. Plus, we got Gerard Hamilton live in the press box at, I don't know, what's that stadium called, man? Like, what's the name? McGurk?
McGurk Alumni Stadium.
Okay, live from McGurk Alumni Stadium. Okay, we'll get to the second most important question, which is Luther Burden, in just a minute. But the chat has a big question from Brickwall. The game was fine. How was the foliage?
Great. I've never heard of foliage,
Beautiful.
but I picked up on it quickly, but it looks. See, I'll give you guys a quick turnaround of what I'm seeing right now.
There you go. I'd see some. Maybe in 2 weeks it'd be a little more red and orange, but it's a nice view.
Just a ride up here. It's about a 45 minutes to an hour ride up here from the hotel, and it was just awesome the whole time. So it looks great.
Good deal. All right, so let's address the big thing. So Luther Burden, look, I'll be honest. At first, I thought, oh no, he just broke his collarbone. That's what that looked like to me. And then he didn't ever leave the field. And Eli Drinkwitz says after the third quarter, he'll be fine. And then after the postgame, he said, basically, I don't know. Correct?
So he said Nate Noel basically got back tightness on the way up here. I don't know if he sat in the wrong plane seat. I don't know if something just happened, but it was something that happened on the way up here. Brady said after his comments, they expect Nate back next week. It's a minor thing, and it's UMass, so they all know that. As far as Khalil Jacobs and Lou, I asked about does he have updates, because he gave the Noel update first, and he said, no, I can't. I don't got nothing for you. We're gonna have to wait till the availability reports come out on Wednesday. And then he said, honestly, I really don't know or have any updates for you. So, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem like he never left the sideline. Khalil Jacobs went to the locker room. Luther didn't, so that seems like a good sign to me.
Yeah, Khalil, when we seen him, he had his arm kind of like this. From what I seen when he was exiting the corner, he didn't have his jersey or pads on. He just had his white T-shirt and something keeping his. I couldn't tell because everything was all white, so I couldn't tell if he was holding it like this or if there was something taped. I couldn't really see what they had going on. But yeah, he exited and didn't come back.
All right, so let me throw something at you that we were talking about earlier, and like preface it by saying, look, Luther Burden's the best player on this team. We all know that. You can see it. I can't see you anymore, so we're gonna wait until there you
I
are.
had to close that door.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so look, Luther Burden is obviously the best player they have. He made some video game moves, all that. I had a couple different people say during the game, like, is it weird that it almost seems like the offense like freed up a little bit when Luther wasn't there, because maybe there wasn't such a just focus on making sure we get him the ball. Like, and again, he's going to play. He has to play. He's their best player. But like, is there almost too much focus on that, do you think?
I'm not going there with that. Just because, I mean, when he left the game, how many points were they up? They were gonna share the ball anyway to give people.
Yeah, it was
good chances.
24-3 when he left. Yeah.
And they were already well past midfield. I can't remember exactly where they were, but they were.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was bound to start going to other people and stuff like that. Now, obviously, yeah, when you take Luther off the field, that's like taking someone who scores 25 points per game and he's out the lineup. Like, yeah, everybody else is going to eat a little bit, but I wouldn't say it was force feeding too much. I mean, I think he only had 7 touches on the day. And so a guy like him, you wouldn't be surprised if, especially when you count he's running the ball, if he was getting, 11, 12 touches. So I don't submit to that one just yet. Not versus UMass. You can't really tell, to be honest.
Yeah. A couple of guys that are getting shout outs in the chat. Josh Manning. Look, how many times have we said this year, a 60-yard touchdown doesn't have to go 60 yards in the air. Hey, you're allowed to take an 8-yard pass and make it a 63-yard touchdown, and that's what Josh Manning did. He looked good.
Yeah, Brady's talking about how fast and quick he looked. Drink gave him some props and stuff like that. And so not this year, obviously, but next year, definitely see him ascending into one of these starting roles that will, of course, we think Lou is going to be in the first round. So these 3 starting roles are going to be vacant. We expect him to probably fill one of those. They're pretty high on him.
Can I say the thing that, like, I think a lot of people are thinking?
Yeah,
he should start now. He should be a starter.
He's not going to be. He's not
going
to be reliability.
Then you're not putting your best team on the field if you don't start him.
And all they're going to tell you is reliability with Mookie. That's all they're. And so, like, I'm with you, but I'm not. I'm going to let them tell you that same stuff over and over. I mean, that's all we can say.
Right. He should start. The other guy that's getting mentioned, and look, it was kind of throwaway time and all that, but Williams Winery, first career sack. Right. I mean, hey, I think that's a great time to break him in against a team that, like, he can kind of do what he did in high school, which is just, hey, I'm so much more talented than you. You can't block me. And hey, get a little confidence boost, and maybe he earns a little more time going forward.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't see the sack. I started doing what she was doing last week. I started being able to write about other stuff, so I didn't see the sack. So when Drink brought it up in the press conference, I was like, okay, but yeah, that's good to boost his confidence. I do know Drink mentioned Trajan Greco by name, Nick Rodriguez. He seemed really impressed with him. I think we just had the red shirt story come out, so I want to say Nick is at 4. Beasley should have burned his red shirt. I know that Corey Flagg said a great quote that I asked him a question about everybody kind of maintaining their roles and stuff like that. Like last week, how hard is it to maintain, gap discipline when you want to make a big play because you're down 1 million points? Well, I asked him the reverse. When everybody's making plays, how hard is it to keep gap discipline and do what you're supposed to do when you see everybody else making plays? And so he said, for example, Nick Rodriguez, he was getting all the box score love and all the tackles, but it's because somebody like Jeremiah Beasley was filling the gaps and he was doing what he needed to do. And then he mentioned on his interception that right before the play, him and Dalen Carnell were communicating about what needs to happen so he could be in the right place. So after the interception, he said DC was the first person he celebrated with because they communicated about stuff like that. So good to see that continuity and seeing like what happens when you do your job,
Yeah, and Beasley and Rodriguez probably guys that are in competition for more snaps if Tristan Newsom and or Khalil Jacobs are out for any extended period of time. Look, I think I mean, Corey Flagg's play won the game. They were probably going to win anyway. But if he doesn't make that pick, UMass potentially could be within 17-10 and getting the ball to start the third quarter. Like, I think everything looks way different. But he gets that pick, runs it back 80 yards. They get 3 out of it. And there was never any question after that Missouri was going to win and win pretty easily. To me, that was pretty clear play of the day.
Play of the
that
day.
That Luther's 61-yard touchdown run on the second play from
Luther's
scrimmage.
Play kind of ignited everything. I honestly thought if they scored, that was as good as it was going to get for Massachusetts to me. Like, it was a very bend, don't break type of day defensively. It got better as the day went on, but early on it was just like UMass is kind of getting down the field a little bit with some of the drives, but no. But it was a great play. It won the swing gate. That's what Drink was, caring about. I think he said 10-0 in that swing gate. So I think that's what
he's lucky because they were losing it big time before that.
I think that is the game, I guess you can say, put it away. I don't know if it, I wouldn't say won it, but it put it away.
Yeah. Well, and it didn't do anything to change people's minds. Everybody's still very unhappy with it. I shouldn't say everybody. A lot of people still very unhappy with the effort today. But what was kind of the general mood post game?
Better than last week. Yeah. In our very tight press conference room with no Wi-Fi. That's why Drink's comments that I just posted wasn't a live updates thing because there was no Wi-Fi in the hotspots for no one was working. So anyway, everybody's in a much better mood. It's obviously building confidence. I think they obviously know they're not going to say this, but you can only learn so much from this game. And so I think the most that I took away is kind of Drink's, well, not the most, but something important I took away at the end was I asked Drink, what can you improve on from here? He's talking about poor tackling. He thinks the RPO defense at times was not as good as it could have been. There was definitely a couple times where guys were left wide open in the flats for 15, 20-yard gains on those RPOs or making good plays off those slants and things like that. He said kickoff coverage defense. He said regardless of the win, he thinks they need to be better. So just those little things. They all seemed a little bit upbeat, of course, but it wasn't like a hysterical win. They know they didn't beat an SEC team or even another Power 4 team, but it was good to kind of just see all the things they did well in practice and worked on kind of come out to fruition on the field,
Yeah, I mean, look, I said coming in, nothing they did today would prove to you that anything's fixed, right? I mean, you can't do that against UMass. That was pretty obvious. Like that touchdown by Luther Burden, hell of a play, don't get me wrong. Next week, that's a 2-yard loss. I mean, it just is because the guy was right there and Luther just outran him to the sideline and stiff armed him. An SEC linebacker or safety is making that play. I think
it's every time they play opponents like this, it's so funny how many chances they take because they know they can. Right. Like everybody's taking punt returns. Luther's going across the field, horizontally and stuff like that. Stuff that's just like, yeah, in real life, it's a problem. So.
Yeah, I mean, nothing that could happen today really well, that's not true. Had it been like if Flagg doesn't make that interception at 17-10 and you find yourself in a tie game with UMass in the third quarter, okay, I might have drawn some conclusions after that. But I just think this was I think it was best case, worst case. For the team, this was a great game to play after last week. Because, you go get to feel good about yourself for a day, right? You maybe, Drink admitted to the TV broadcasters that last week shook their confidence. So you get some of that back. For those of us who are paid to try to draw conclusions about this team, for the fans who, are looking big picture, this was the worst game possible after last week because all it is just it gives you 2 weeks to talk about Texas A&M because you can't talk about this one really.
No, the worst thing possible was losing this game. I mean,
but that was never realistically on the table.
I don't know. I keep seeing things
they can't lose to like this team. Was that team they played today better than Murray State? If so, it's not by much, man.
They scored 3 points. Well, I can't remember. I can't remember if Murray State was getting down the field. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say
no. They didn't.
Murray State. I don't even know how many times they broke the 50. So I'll give UMass this barely, not by much, but barely.
Okay, so they're better than Murray State. But yeah, I mean, point is, from a standpoint of being able to learn anything, today was worst case scenario because I just can't take anything away from that game, really.
No, but like I've been saying recently, it's all about getting that proverbial layup or free throw to go in, just to see one go in, just to see some of the stuff you work on, work. And so that's better than Brady missing all types of throws. I don't really remember his stat line because
he was 14 to 19 for 219 and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, hey, and he missed the deep ball to Mookie. And the first thing I was thinking was there's 2 guys running a similar route right next to each other when there's like 2 defenders over there. I don't know. This looks like it can be messy. And then the second thing I was thinking is maybe okay that it's an incompletion just because I thought I seen 2 defenders over there. But there was that. And then the Theo Burden 25-yard gain. If the ball is thrown a little bit inside, on the right shoulder, it's a touchdown. And so, but was it beggars can't be choosers? You guys got to take that 25-yard gain.
Yeah, that, and to be fair, 30-mile-an-hour wind, like that makes that throw tougher.
Well, it was about 15 to 17 throughout.
Okay.
30 mile per hour. I don't know if he'd be able to get that one off. But yeah, it was definitely a bit breezy, but not in a crazy way. Just in you got to be a little bit more focused and stuff. But it wasn't on the field. It wasn't that wild.
Right. I mean, look, we might his worst throw of the day. We might not know how bad it was for a couple of days because his worst throw of the day was the one that was high to Luther that he ended up getting hurt on. It was a bad throw, man.
It was
like it just was.
It was a little hospital-y, but how Brady described it after play was RPO read. Whoever was in that kind of nickel or the linebacker on the edge. I don't remember who was there, but he said that person came down.
It was a safety that hit Luther.
Okay. No, I know a safety came down, but there was a safety who came down to stop the run. Okay. And so he threw it to the open spot, which is where Lou was. And he said the clean looked hit for the most part. What did he say? He said he couldn't really see what happened to Lou on the play. Obviously, he's behind, 6'5", 300-pounder, so he can't see, from his vantage point. But I'm just going to guess that it was more so just Lou just got his bell rung. And it wasn't even a helmet hit. It was just he got hit hard unexpectedly. So that's what I'm getting the feel that this was, more so than like a true injury. Because when they showed him on the TVs and he was over there, he didn't have any expression. He just kind of looked like just existing. And then they cut the tape off and that was it. So,
okay. Yeah. I mean, hopefully everything's good. During 12th on Tuesday. Hey, he's fine. No big deal. All that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll let you go right here pretty quick. Any parting shots, anything else interesting that you feel like you need to impart on the people?
No, I just think nothing super serious, but I just keep thinking about when we talked to Marcus Carroll about Lou's 61-yarder. He was just like, he was so excited about it. And he was like, I did my little fake handoff or whatever. He was like, I blinked twice and he was gone. I just seen the back of his jersey. He was just so hyped for him, even though that's his, even though he had the 3 touchdown day, his 4th of his career, having that many touchdowns in one game. So, no, I think the biggest nugget I took away was kind of what Corey Flagg said about everybody doing their roles and maintaining discipline when you're on the winning side of a blowout as well.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, and you may not have noticed this either. I noticed on the third drive of the game, Mitchell Walters went in at left guard for Caden Green. What did it look like after that? Because I didn't really notice. I didn't notice who was there most of the time.
I don't remember Caden coming back in after that. I'm not going to act like I was super
Yeah.
The score
I'll have to look at snap counts.
The score got ran up pretty quickly, but I do remember seeing pretty much everybody else on the starting line be there. So I don't know.
And like I know Logan Reichert and Javen Richardson played, the fourth quarter, but
platoon swap at the end, which I was definitely taking glances every few minutes to look. But for the duration of the game, Mitch was in there at left guard, but I seen all the other starters there. So Can't tell if that's injury. Can't tell if that's a drink trying something new or whatever the case may be. We'll have to find out later.
All right, man. Well, appreciate it. We'll let you go right and make your way back to Missouri tomorrow morning.
Will do. See you guys later.
All right, thanks, man. That's Gerard Hamilton live from Amherst, and appreciate him taking some time. Look, guys, a lot of outlets didn't cover this game in person. We want to do every one, so important to get Gerard up there and get him on the show with you guys. Give you kind of the the feeling from on site there at McGurk Alumni Stadium, as I just learned. Before we get back to voicemails and chats and all that, do want to remind you that our post-game shows, as well as our opponent preview shows every single week this year, brought to you by America's oldest brewery, Yuengling. Hopefully, look, we've been on here close to an hour. Hopefully you guys are a couple in, got a couple more. And then maybe a few more because there's a lot of good football on, but we encourage you to grab a Yuengling and hang out with us and then go watch the rest of the games. Lager up, enjoy responsibly. As always, let's get back. I want to jump in, see if we've got anything interesting in the chat real quick. Will Moritz says people act like getting this team's confidence up is the worst thing in the world. They need some positivity. I agree, Will. And like, I'm not saying that that's the fans' job. Hey, kiss their ass and make them feel happy, but whatever, they get paid to be here at this point. So I got no issue with people who are upset with the way the season's going. But I think this game today was good for this team to feel good about themselves. Like Gerard said, they needed to see the ball go in the basket, and they did, and yes, was it an unguarded layup for the most part? Absolutely. But hey, that's okay. Nick says Caden Green went back in with the backup, so that's good to know. Be interesting to see who gets the start, and that's something we'll definitely ask Eli Drinkwitz about on Tuesday and see what he says. And Sean, let's hit the voicemail line again, man.
Hey, Gabe, Tucker here from down in Joplin. So, game's still going on. I just watched the back-to-back completions to Norfleet. Nice to see Norfleet making a contribution here, but more importantly, I know a lot of people have been on Brady. I don't think he's played very well up to this point either. The throw he made to Norfleet, I know it's UMass, and I know he had plenty of time, but that was a good throw down the field. If Brady gets this turned around and starts playing better, maybe that throw there is the one we look back on and think, hey, he let her rip. And he's, like a good shooter in basketball, they say every now and then, they got to see the ball go through the net. Well, every now and then, you got to see a long completion get caught, and he did. So just wanted to point that out. Thanks, Gabe.
Excellent point, Tucker. That was one of the nicer plays of the game to me. Look, I've been kind of hard on Norfleet, hard on their use of tight ends. What the hell are they doing? It was good to see him not only get that one, but then come back on the next play and get another one. So if nobody's saying that necessarily unlocked anything, but if you're going to rip him when he's bad, you got to give him credit when he makes a play. And he made a play there. It was good to see. Real quick, before we go back to the voicemails, I want to read you guys what else is happening in college football right now. Into the first, Oklahoma 3, Texas nothing. Into the first, USC 7, Penn State 3. 10 minutes left in the second, Stanford 7, Notre Dame 7. Guys, it's a weird year. Things are happening. Root for chaos. Chaos helps Missouri. The more teams that lose game, the better shot Missouri has. I said this on the radio this week. I feel better about Missouri's playoff chances at 10-2 now than I felt 2 weeks ago. Now, 10-2 looks further away. I'm not telling you I think this is a 10-2 football team. I'm telling you if they can get there, I actually think their chances to get in are significantly better than I would have thought they were 2 weeks ago. Weird things are happening in college football. Sean, let's go back to the voicemails.
Gabe, I think that pass to Burden where he just egregiously missed high and almost got him killed is going to be the final straw for a lot of Mizzou fans.
I think we heard this one. Yeah, let's move on.
Hey, Gabe, it's Drew in St. Louis here. Today's offensive game plan kind of has me a little bit confused, with regards to last week. If they're going to be this big, bad running team, why in the hell did they abandon it so quickly last week against A&M? I just don't understand. There's got to be something more going on with Cook. Anyway, free Dotem. See you later. MIZ.
All right, so Drew, I think there's a couple things. First of all, I think shoving around UMass is a lot easier than shoving around Texas A&M. I mean, Missouri's offensive line was getting its stuff handed to it last week. So I'm not sure you could line up and just run. The second thing is, and I've said this on the postgame show, like coaches panic way too soon. It was 17-0 a minute into the second quarter last week. And coaches think, well, we're down 17. We got to start throwing. You know what that means when you're down 17? It means you got 44 minutes left to play. It's not time to throw everything out the window. They abandoned it too quickly last week. But also, I think this week was very much, all right, let's pound it. We know we can push this team around. Let's pound it at them, get a comfortable lead, and then let's work on the stuff we need to work on. Like, let's go make sure we're going to win the game, and then let's work on everything else. I think after an hour to think about it since the game ended, I think that's the way that Missouri handled it today. Pocket Watch resident Auburn fan on here. First of all, thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the reminder to have everybody like it. And Pocket Watch, I want you to drop an answer to this in the comments. Like, how's Auburn feel coming here next week? Because this is a game that determines, I think, Missouri's season. Literally everything from 6-6 to 11-1 is on the table for Missouri. Auburn is kind of the opposite of Missouri. I think they've maybe played a little bit better than their record. Probably should have beat Oklahoma, but also like they just have find a way to not get things done. So drop in the comments for the Missouri fans, and we'll put it up on the screen in a minute. How Auburn feels coming in, and okay. So I think we are caught up on the voicemail line. We're mostly caught up on the chat line. If you guys, if there are some other things, we can do it. Let's see. Wentz Walking Stick says our D-line is getting unfairly criticized. We faced very athletic quarterbacks recently. Look, the defensive line was awful against Texas A&M. Today, I don't know. I guess it was fine. But let me look at some of the numbers. They had 3 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, allowed 4.2 yards of play, 95 yards on the ground. I think probably today the defensive line was good enough. Maybe not quite as dominant as you would like to see, but not terrible. They were all right. Tyler says, I think we need to ground and pound and one-up play action the rest of the way out. If you can do it, yes. I think, but like there's going to come a week. Do you feel confident this team can just line up and run the ball at Alabama? And I understand Alabama's defense hadn't been great, but I'm not sure. I think that South Carolina's defense actually might be the one that scares you. Good point by Sean Kurtz too. 95 yards on the ground is actually like 60. It's actually 56 without the fake punt. That's a good point. So bonus points for the defense because of that fake punt. Negative points to everything else because that, like, Emmanuel Acho was literally just saying, hey, maybe you fake it here. I mean, that was an obvious fake situation, and Missouri got caught by it. Not great there. Pocket Watch says, feel like we can win just about any game minus Georgia and Alabama, but at the same time, sure can lose them too. Wouldn't surprise me if we won and if we err our way to be blown out. That's Pocket Watch, again, an Auburn fan. So that's the view from that side, right? Here's the view from this side. H880. Every game scares me with this team. Missouri's in the fat middle 80% of college football, guys. I think right now I was going to say 2 teams that are like kind of head and shoulders above everybody else in college football. I was going to say it's Ohio State and Texas. Well, right now, Texas is down 3-0 in the second quarter to Oklahoma. Penn State, by the way, down 14-3. That would have been my lock of the week, USC. Hosting Penn State going across the country as a home underdog. But I would have said Texas and Ohio State head and shoulders above everybody else. Texas isn't, maybe. Ohio State's going out to Oregon today. We'll see. Point is, there's not a lot of dominance on the top end. There's some teams, Missouri played one of them today, that can't beat much of anybody. There's like 60 teams in college football that on any given day can win or lose, right? Kentucky got blown out by South Carolina, should have beat Georgia and beat Ole Miss. South Carolina blows out Kentucky, loses to LSU. We don't know, guys, on any given day. Now, I will give you, if you are a Missouri fan, you have not seen the ceiling, right? We saw the floor last week, and it was pretty scary, bad low. We have not seen the ceiling for Missouri yet, or at least we hope we haven't. If we've seen the ceiling, it's not good. Like, they're going to end up 7-5 if we've seen the ceiling. But what if we haven't? What if next week they unleash just their best game against Auburn and it's a lot better than we've seen so far? Then this show next week is going to be a lot of people saying, oh, hang on, we're 6-1 going to Alabama. We got to reassess everything. We can beat Alabama, so it's just so week to week. And Henry says is thinking next week is make or break for Drinkwitz and company, too dramatic. If you mean like for his future as a head coach here, 100% too dramatic. Eli can lose every game the rest of the year. He's not in any trouble. He's fine. If you're talking make or break for this season, yeah, I still think that's too dramatic. I think we're going to learn a lot next week. I think next week will inform me a lot what I think about the rest of the year. But I think calling it make or break is way too much. I just think it's, Wentz Walking Stick says we're a solid 10-win team. I think could be 8, could be 11. I would say right now, like if I had to pick the final record, I'd say probably 9-3. 11-1's not out of the question. 6-6 is not out of the question, guys. This is college football. This is where most of college football lives. If you're Ohio State, even if you lose tonight, I think you feel pretty good about 11-1, right? If you're Georgia, I mean, you've got 3 tough games left. You think you're probably going to go 2-1 and get to 10-2, but I'm not positive this year. Georgia's looked vulnerable. There's just this is going to be a lot of fun going down the stretch because I truly think the earliest the playoff is out of the picture for Missouri is November 9th because I think they beat Auburn next week. And if they beat Auburn, even if they lose to Alabama, if they go get beat and look the way they did against A&M again, 2 of those, you can't survive 2 of those. You've got to be competent, reasonably competitive at Alabama. But as long as you do that, a loss probably still isn't going to end it for you. Then you're going to get a week off and play Oklahoma. And if you lose that game and you're 6-3, then it's all over. But most of the country is going to be alive going into the month of November. And Missouri's no different. And in any given week, hey, if they played A&M again, they could beat A&M. I'm not saying they would. I think A&M kind of proved they deserve the benefit of the doubt as the better team. But there is not a game left on Missouri's schedule that they can't win. I mean, Alabama got beat by Vandy last week and came close to getting beat by South Carolina today. Maybe South Carolina's pretty good, but Missouri, South Carolina, are you going to tell me either team goes into that game going, well, no way we can win this one? No way we can lose this one? Absolutely not, man. Dennis says the problem is the expectations that we fans and the team put on themselves going into it. They were very high. So there's 2 ways to look at that. Those expectations are not gone. This team can get every place you wanted it to get. It has not looked as good as you hoped it would look. So those are 2 different things, right? I think expectations is part of it. The play hasn't been as good as you want, and last week was really ugly. You need something to erase last week from your memory. If that's a win over Auburn, if it's a win at Alabama, whatever it is, you need something to erase last week. A game against UMass was simply never going to do it. Sean's asking, is this as close to 2007 as we could get? And I think he means the chaos across the country, not just specifically Missouri. And yes, this feels 2007-ish. There are going to be 2-loss teams in the playoff. I think there might be a 3-loss team in the playoff. It's going to be wild, guys, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's good for Missouri. So there were 9 unbeaten Power 5 teams going into today. Power 4 teams. Texas just took the lead, so maybe they remain that way. Penn State, one of those teams, down 14-3. We could be down to 8. Pittsburgh's leading Cal, probably stay unbeaten. Ohio State and Oregon play tonight, at least one of them. So BYU's trailing Arizona. We could be down to 5 or 6 unbeaten power conference teams by the end of this day, guys. It's going to be wild. And so I would encourage you, this was an early game that was over early. The afternoon games aren't to halftime. Here's what you do this afternoon. Open a Yuengling, watch the rest of the country, and just kind of allow yourself to understand that if you look at what else is going on, this might not seem as bad as you think it is. Like there's a lot of other stuff that happens in college football. And in the context of what's going on in the country, everything's still out there for Missouri. I am not saying they played well. I'm not saying they played to their potential. I'm not saying today solved anything. I'm just saying that there's no reason at this point in time to run and end things. I'd go ahead and stay up and watch next week. And I'd stay and watch the week after that. And there's probably still going to be a reason to stay and watch the week after that. So appreciate all you guys being here. We always knew this one would be a little bit lighter and a little bit shorter, right? It's UMass. What are you going to do? We weren't going to learn anything. We didn't learn a whole lot. But Missouri 5-1, 45-3 winner. Auburn coming to town off a bye at 11:45 a.m. next week. Gerard Hamilton has a ton coming from McGurk Alumni Stadium in Amherst. I'm going to ask you guys before we sign off here to like, share, subscribe, do all those things. If you're listening on the podcast, share it on social media. I think we've got our podcast feed figured out. I don't know. I know it'll be on Spotify. I know it'll be on SoundCloud. The Apple feed's having some issues. Hopefully it's up there by the end of the day. And you guys can listen that way. We'll be back Monday night with the live show, have full post-game coverage rest of today, tomorrow morning. Message board's been hopping. Appreciate all you guys for joining us here. And we'll talk to you next time.